Hello, House Hero Clan and Wham Fam, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live with the House Heroes. How's everyone going out there? I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Tuesday night, we have a special program for you tonight. We have 6 things you must know when purchasing a new build. I know a lot of you are out there. You're talking about buying a house. You're thinking about, taking that first step, that big plunge. And now new builds are the way to go. It's now becoming more and more acceptable after looking at all the resales that are getting sucked up and the inventory going down. You're going after new builds. Hi, my name is Troy, and this is...
I'm Ryan.
Hey, and we are here as the House Heroes. We're very interactive. First of all, guys, you're on right now. Say hi to us, wave to us, get us a little interaction here. If you have any questions...
Wake up!
Yeah. If you have any questions or anything about, finances or real estate or even the new builds, we're more than happy to answer all your questions as we're alive. So Ryan, talk to us, man. How's it been going out there with the news and the updates and what's happening out there in the real estate world?
It's interesting. It's a lot of the stuff we talked about back in March and April, what we saw, how we expected this year to kind of unfold. It's all coming true. I mean, we said the market was going to just bounce back, it was going to be on fire. We were talking back in March, a lot of these slides we pulled from our March live stream when we were talking about new builds and why, when we were hitting COVID, why a lot of buyers were going to be turning towards new builds. That was easier to show. They were clean. They didn't want to live where anybody else had lived, and they could get into these properties. And so here we are come, September, and, the shelves are bare on resale homes, and it is pretty much the same at new home construction. I mean, the shelves are bare, but the beauty is they're building out. So you can get that 6 or 9 months lead time and buy a new home. And that's why a lot of our buyers are turning that way, because they can get it. And, like Burger King, they can have it their way,
Well, as I just went to a new builder phase release, they just announced that they're not doing this and this and this anymore. I'm like, whoa, you just dropped, took the mic, you gave out the new pricing, it's and we're doing less and less.
We knew we were buying the base model Corolla already, but now you took away the window knob for the roll down windows. Like, what's up here,
Hey. So Ryan, tell us what's happening in the news. I know every single week there's something new that's happening that's really groundbreaking. But tell us what you're seeing out there.
I didn't want to flood you guys with a lot of stuff coming on. Last week we hit new all-time low with a 30-year mortgage and 15-year mortgage according to Freddie Mac. I think it was 2.86 for the 30-year. We talked about it a lot on our Friday night, weekly market update. If you guys haven't yet subscribed, click the button wherever it is on whatever you're watching. Like and subscribe to this. Share it with anybody that might be in the market to buy a house. On Fridays, we cover the entire, we bore you with all of the data. So not only what we're seeing in the field, but the true numbers that back it up. So if you guys are interested, you're hearing they call them now the foreclosure bros, like all the ones out there trying to say, the sky is falling. If you want to see the true numbers and what's out there, from unemployment to resale figures, rates, all that stuff, we cover all that on our Friday. So definitely like and subscribe so you get notified when we do go live on Fridays. So I just took a quick snippet of that, weekly market update we do. And these are the 2 slides I really wanted to focus on tonight. It was basically that the inventory. So the green here is 2020. Should be the red one, because we should have just stopped and not entered 2020 altogether here. But yeah, so you can see just inventory was already starting the year pretty low, and then it dropped off. And this is back in COVID right here. So it was starting off a little bit low, and then COVID held back inventory, and then it's completely dropped off. And so on top of that, we got demand. And demand is, same thing. It just completely bottom fell out during COVID, and it shot back up to the trajectory it was on all along. And it's going ever higher. This is one of the hottest Septembers. It is the hottest September I've ever seen as far as deals. We're still walking into homes and they've got 22 offers, 30 offers. It is just nuts. You're seeing it out there too, right, Troy?
Yeah, if you look at this chart, the green is 2020, and then the previous years are red, orange, and purple here. And we're seeing that the demand, and I've said this over and over, with the education that's out there for the millennial generation, and they're learning to save and to realize that FICO scores and finances are much more important at a younger age. they are now seeing that true wealth is through real estate. And if the younger I buy real estate, the more wealthier I'll be when I want to retire down the road. And I really truly feel that generation and Generation Z that's right behind it, that's going to be younger, when they're buying homes. I think that the average age is going to drop right to 30, right around 30 now. In the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to see that people are younger and younger, really realizing, and much more mature than I was at 30 or 25, right?
And we got people jumping in before they even own their own home. They're buying investment homes and stuff like that, which is actually the case that, that was my path into real estate. I actually owned investment homes before I even owned my own home. I was talking to some clients and good friends, Russ and Nicole, tonight, and that's all we were talking about is how they're going to sell one of their Airbnbs and go to a different area. So where they want to travel a little bit more so they can enjoy that Airbnb, still have all the tax write-offs and cash flow. And so, people are starting to pick up these Airbnbs, different spots, and now with COVID, people, are able to work from home. So you've got a lot of they're talking about 2 million people can now move. They're freed from out of these urban cores and they can go to the Midwest. They can go to, nice Idahos and somewhere on a river, as long as they've got Wi-Fi and they can do their job, they're golden. And so we're seeing a lot of people move to other areas from the suburbs to, these more traditionally second home or, more like excluded areas and stuff. So where does that leave us? When you've got demand through the roof and inventory low, it looks like the grocery store milk aisle circa, what was this, like March 2nd or something like that?
No, April 1st.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember. This is actually a picture my wife took. We were coming back from Oregon. We were worried we were going to be able to get a flight back even. So we cut our trip short. We flew back from Oregon, and I'm like, all right, we probably do need to stock up some supplies for the fridge. She goes to the grocery store, and it was like, unless we wanted, heavy cream, Ready Whip, like that was our choice to eat with, for our cereal in the morning. So yeah, we pass on that, but this is where we're at right now. We're literally sold out on a lot of homes. And what does that mean? It means people are focusing on new home construction, and we'll cover, the top 6 things you need to know before you get yourself into new home construction. And some of the pros and cons as well. And here we go. So, resale homes are sold out. People are fighting over that heavy creamer that's the last one on the shelf. And here we are, 22% up bump in new home construction from May to July, I believe it was, as well as a 23.4% jump year over year in new home construction. So builders, they're snapping to it. And what was interesting is, I was looking for the chart before we went live. We had a chart on, I don't know, probably 9 months ago now. And it showed the amount of new home construction. They call them housing starts. And we were looking at 2005, 6, 7, 8. And we were still only building about half of those peak numbers from 2006, 7, and 8. So even with this 22 and 23% boost year over year, we still aren't even hitting the numbers for the 3 years prior to, the downfall, the previous recession. So, we went into this year 3.8 million homes short of housing worldwide, or nationwide rather. And now through the pandemic, you've had a lot more pending and closed sales, and builders are finally, springing in action, but it's still not going to be enough. They're not overbuilding. We are still underdeveloping for what our needs are. So just keep that in mind when you guys are out there looking for homes. It's a shortage out there, and it's been ongoing.
So let me get a couple shout outs here.
Yeah.
It's Colleen, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Elizabeth, thank you for sharing our live here. Abraham, how's it going, buddy? Erica, another share there. So we definitely appreciate it. Again, say hi to us. Any questions you have? I know a lot of you have, and you have any, actually, let me ask you, Ryan, what's some of your shout outs?
Yeah, I just want to say what's up, Jamie Cruz, Rafael Tanajero, and Rodrigo Ramos. What's up, big guy? College buddy there. So
okay.
Good to see you on there.
So I wanted to share a kind of before we just jump into this, a little bit of story here about a client I had that we just kind of came to a conclusion on Saturday. So I had a client that we decided, hey, he got approved, ready to rock and roll, up to $520,000. We went out there. Pomona area, right around Pomona,
P-Town
Fontana area, right there. And so we literally last 6 weeks, we put in offer after offer after offer. Typically, we were 5% over ask. And most of those homes had anywhere from 10 to 25. On one of them, we knew an old agent that had worked with us at Remax way back in the day. He was the listing agent, and there were 30 offers on his property. And he just said, here's the highest. You want to go higher? You got the house. And it went significantly over what my client was approved for. So after that, we got together and we decided, hey, let's go look at new home builds. There is none of this competition that we have to deal with. There's none of, it's the price is the price. You got to get on a VIP list. You get called, your name gets called in an order in which you're on the VIP list, and you get the house you want if that's available at the time. There's no bidding wars there. There's no nothing. That's called a phase release. And so if you're out there and you're with your real estate agent and you've just kind of been beaten down a little bit about how many offers you're putting in, you're not getting responses from the seller, or you're just getting outbid on a constant basis. Your appraisal contingency is sitting right there, and you have to keep releasing it. You have to do all those crazy things. Definitely look into new builds. I think that you'll be a lot more happier about new builds. It's now kind of the tide's turning a little bit. The stress is off of you, as well. On top of that, you'll realize, especially in a newer phased community, that you'll realize some equity as your house is being built and when your house is built.
Yep. No, that's a great point. And we'll get to a lot of those during our pros and cons subject, but you nailed it. And that's why a lot of people are turning to new home builds, because if you're VA or FHA, you still got a shot on getting your offer accepted. If you're on that interest list, they're not going to buck you off for somebody who's all cash. So that's a great point. So talk to us a little bit about representation and contracts, Troy.
Well, I mean, so one of the first things that you want to know is that the contracts, that when you're with your real estate agent and you're out there and you're looking at resale homes, you're actually signing a California Association of Realtors 11-page form, offer sheet. And so you fill it out. It's real basic. It has all the information. It protects you and it protects the seller. You sign it, you send it in, and that's with your offer. Fantastic. Then we look at new home builders. New home builders do not use any of the California contracts. They have their own contracts.
Builder specific.
So each builder has some contract, typically 80 to 100 pages, that is slightly to completely slanted, all in their favor. And you've got to know that. So the first thing you do is you walk in there, and when you walk into a new home build, what does the salesperson say? Anyone out there? Go ahead and answer that. If you've been to one, you'll know exactly what they ask. They ask you to sign in. And the reason why they ask you to sign in is they want to know right off the bat that you don't have representation or you do have representation. If you sign that card and you say, I have no representation, that salesperson's light goes ding, 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 ding. What they're going to do is they're going to put information in front of you that pretty much you won't even understand, right? That's what they typically do. They just go the mumbo jumbo method. And if you get into a contract with them, let's see them explain 100 pages to you about contingency removal, appraisal contingency removal, about the lender and all their things. What about the house? What does it come with? It's all wrapped up in that contract. What's the HOA? What's the Melrose? How long is Melrose? How long are you going to pay extra on that taxation? You've got to know these things. So the number one thing is you need to have representation when you walk through that door. If your real estate agent can't make it with you that day, do me a favor.
Reschedule.
Write their name down. Right on
That's
that
true.
card. It doesn't cost you a dime to have representation. Your agent's not going to charge you a penny. He shouldn't charge you a penny. The builder pays for his services, and the builder does not discount a house if you don't use that particular an agent or not.
Absolutely.
Please understand that. It's extremely important. It's like going into a courtroom and you're up against the charges of robbery. And what do you do? Do you have a lawyer or do you not have a lawyer? Because the lawyer is provided to you by the state of California. Guess what? You're not paying for that lawyer, yet he's going to represent you in the best manner he can.
And better than you could represent yourself, for sure.
Right, exactly.
And and if you are, you're out there and you pop into one of those builders and they won't let you put your agent's name down, just reschedule. Just come back. Your agent should absolutely be willing to drive out there to walk that with you to make sure you're checked in properly and you are represented. So if you're up with a builder, we've seen them in the past where they're adamant, like, no, you can't go see these models until you sign in. And if you've got an agent, they've got to be with you. Then just reschedule. It's better for you in the long run to make sure you've got that representation. And I've seen it. We walk in there and the client will ask the builder a question and they'll give their BS answer. And I'm like, all right, well, here's the truth of it. And it's funny because you'll just see it in the builder's eyes. Like, okay, you know it better than I do. Or, you know the real deal. And there've been, a lot of these sales agents, they don't own a home. They don't know anything about housing. They're just told how to sell it. Again, they are there to represent the builder, to sell the builder's homes. They don't want it to be hard. They want to sit there and sugarcoat everything and just make it easy. Oh, sign here. I was trying to think off the top of my head. I actually videoed one of ours. We were asking a couple questions, and I know I can't really play that video because nobody knows videoing it. But the client had asked a question, and the answer was something we always talk about here, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was totally wrong. I mean, it's, just steamrolled into just sign here. And I stopped, had the conversation with my client, the real deal, and we move forward. So just make sure you've got your representation out there because, most agents understand the RPA that we use, like Troy's saying, but, it's completely different when you get into the builder's contract. What happens if the home doesn't appraise and you've done upgrades? What happens if, 6 months from now, you lose your job, a month before it's, gonna be completed. How are these things handled? Is there any negotiation for the deposit? Some of these builders will allow a lesser deposit if you're VA or military. So you need to just be asking these questions or have somebody with you who knows what questions to ask. So talk to us a little bit about the tax rate, Troy.
So the tax rate is typically significantly higher than a resale home that's been built probably from 2000 and back. The reason why is that the typical tax rate is 1.1%, and then what you do is you add Mello-Roos on top of it and all the utility taxes and all the utility bonds that are out there. So if you're jumping into a new build, you got the city as well as the county has to build streets, parks, schools, police departments, fire departments, all the infrastructure around it, as well as they have to bring in utilities. So that's all going to cost, and they're all bonds. And those bonds are typically anywhere from 10 to 30 years. And that's what Mello-Roos is tacked on top of your tax rate. So that's what you're getting. You need to go in and you need to ask that because that will significantly change your approval. If you went to a typical lender and a lender goes, oh, I'm sorry, you're approved for $500,000. They're basing it on typically 1.1 to 1.25%. They're not basing it on 1.9 to 2% tax rate. So you have to know that going in up front.
Yep, that's it. You nailed it. I was showing a client the other day. He's approved up to 500. We were looking at 440 with 2% tax rate. And that extra 0.75% tax rate over where he was approved. I mean, it basically killed the deal right there. He had to be closer to 430. So that 0.75% tax rate was $300 a month, which basically equated to $50,000. And then there was a $90 HOA. So it bumped it $400 in his payment. So you got to remember, it's roughly $600 to $650 per $100,000 you're borrowing. That's just like a rough ballpark to kind of see where you're at. So same thing, goes if you're approved for a home and they're telling you, okay, a single family residence, you're approved for 500, but then there's a $300 HOA. Now it's probably, you're looking at a condo or a house with an HOA. You probably need to drop about 50 grand off of there. Definitely talk to your lender to get the final numbers, but that's the ballpark we normally use when we're out there in the field. So you got to remember, one of the first calls I make when I'm, have a client interested in a new build, I ask them, what's your HOA and what's your tax basis? Those are like the two things I need to know right off the bat. So just remember to ask those questions. Plus, I know Troy mentioned about Mello-Roos and the, the time frames, ask how long those Mello-Roos are for. Some of them are 25 years, some of them are 30 years, some of them are perpetuity. I can't even say it, I'm messing the word up, but forever, right? So they're going to keep keep it going. So check and see what that is going to be and if any of them fall out, because some of those, as they fall out, will at least benefit you there. And then HOA and landscaping. So break that down for us, Troy.
Okay. So what happens is on most of the communities, they have an HOA. And I know there's pros and cons. I think everyone's initial reaction to HOA is, I don't want an HOA, I don't want an HOA. But actually, if the HOA is fairly inexpensive, it really benefits you and keeps the value of your property up, especially after that builder finishes their phases out. You absolutely keep, some of the restrictions on those homes, on the front lawns, on the outside, the way the house looks. They keep them in place. Yep. So nobody decides to put their auto, on
blocks and work out it and changing the oil, rotating tires for 3 weeks are on blocks out there in front of the house.
Their auto project, as well as you can't let their grass die or paint their house, orange or do any of those things. The HOA in place actually helps to keep the value up.
Absolutely,
and that's really important. But that also is part of the process of getting approved. So you have to add that into your payment, and that can take you over, just like Ryan had said a few minutes ago about his client actually having an approval letter in his hand for $500, but really on a new build, it went down significantly to $430.
Yep.
So take that in consideration. Also on the landscaping side, typically most builders will landscape the outside of the houses. They want their community to look nice, especially for potential buyers that are driving the community. And they see how beautiful it looks, but what they won't do is they won't landscape the back. And that's the majority will not landscape at whatsoever. Anything. It's just all, you get a dirt back lot. And so the HOA then comes in, if you have an HOA, or the city ordinance, because there's some of them are no HOA but city ordinance, and they say within 6 months to a year, you have to have that developed in the backyard. You have to have it landscaped. And so the HOA will come around and they will check that out. So within the first 6 months, you have to submit plans to the HOA and their committee. Then their committee goes through a process to approve what you're asking to do in your backyard. And then you have the remainder of the 12 months to actually get it done, take pictures, or have the HOA come over and look at it. So that you have to take that in consideration as well on the finance side, on the actual beauty and value of your home, as well as what the cost is in the backyard to actually get the landscaping up to get approved through the HOA.
Great points, man. Absolutely fantastic point. And then inspections. So, we've seen a crazy trend. It's kind of disappointing, to be honest with you. A lot of these builders now will just tell you straight out you can't do a third-party home inspection, or they try to limit you from being able to do one because they say that your inspector has to have an asinine amount of insurance coverage that no inspector, carries or can afford to inspect the house. So, and this was actually the question I was talking about earlier that I had the guy on video. The client asked about a home inspection because I had talked to him about a home inspection. Normally when we get towards the end, they'll try and do their blue tape walk, yellow tape walk, green tape walk, where, they'll put a drywall, imperfection in blue and, maybe an electrical issue in white tape so that the tradespeople know to go in and fix these things, and they're just getting you smoke and mirrors, just kind of, oh, look over here, we're doing all these things. But the truth is, you don't know if there's code violations. You don't know what's going on in the attic. I mean, you're not crawling up there. The salesperson, a lot of these facilities, this is their first job. Again, they don't own a house. They don't really know that much about housing. Some are experts, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of newbies that can't make it out there selling real estate, and they gravitate into being a sales agent on a new home community because it's set pay and it's stable. Hey, it's not bad, but they're just not experienced. They don't necessarily know that much about construction. So just remember, when you're listening to them, they don't know everything. They're going to walk you through their blue tape, this, that. And this is what they'll normally tell you when you're at the sales center and you talk about inspections. Oh, well, the city comes out for multiple inspections. They're here all the time because they're doing it, pre-concrete pour, when the framing goes up, when the sheeting goes up. Look, the city, inspectors that are out there, they've got so many homes that they're going to and inspecting. They're not walking every single one of these new build homes. They might spot a couple, or if they do walk them, they're walking them fast. And anybody you talk to in the industry will admit to this. They just don't have the manpower to handle them all. So they'll do a select sampling, right? Just like, your food select sampled and stuff like that for quality and purity and stuff like that. They're doing the same thing. So your house they might not have looked at the vent piping, and maybe they use the wrong vent pipe, and it's going to have a pressure issue and create the smells inside the walls down the road, And so you've got to be careful. Now, hopefully they're inspecting all that open stuff, from the city. But once those walls are closed, you're not going to be able to see them again. You want to get a professional home inspection after, you've got that time. When you're doing that blue tape walk, you want to get a professional home inspection who's going to go into the attic. They're going to look at things. They're going to look at the roof. We've had examples where the roofers forgot to cut in roof vents. Well, what happens when, the roof gets super hot and it expands? Your roof's literally going to crack and pop. They had to go back in and cut in all new roof vents and redo a bunch of the roofing on that one. We see it a lot of times. I know Troy just did one recently where a bunch of the electrical outlets in the kitchen weren't even working and weren't GFCI protected. I mean, it's absurd to think that a new home construction have something so simple and such a health and safety issue be done wrong. So you need to make sure you're getting a professional home inspection. And these builders will try and talk you out of it, if not just fully flat out deny you. Mm-hmm. So what we've been doing to get around that is, because they will give you the 1-year fit and finish warranty and a 10-year warranty on, those latent defects, things that are not able to be seen, that are in the walls and stuff like that. The structural stuff is normally a 10-year warranty. We just get a home inspection the day after you close escrow. And that way the inspector goes through, inspects everything. And then we go ahead and take that list back to the builder and say, here, fix all these things because it's still under their warranty. So make sure you aren't, taking the BS lines from the builder that, oh yeah, the city's out here and, inspects it all the time. I know as a fact, it doesn't happen that way. We see it, our inspectors that we work with regularly, they always love going to new home constructions to see what they can find. So definitely make sure you get a home inspection. Got anything to add there, Troy?
No, I've seen it every time. The home inspector always finds something.
Always.
It's just that some builders make it really hard for you to bring in an outside inspector.
Yep.
And they'll do all they can to talk you out of it.
And, we've sold resale homes, that are only 2, 3, 4 years old, and we're getting a home inspection now, for our buyers, and we're finding things there, and those things were there when that person had bought the home from the builder. Now, I know we had one recently. It was a condominium, new home construction, and there was broken roof trusses up in the roof. It was a big issue, but luckily, because it was under the 10-year warranty and it was HOA, it was covered for the buyer and the seller. But there was other things that were called out in that inspection. I mean, I'd say there's at least 10 items that the buyer asked the seller to repair for that were outside of the fit and finish and their normal 1-year warranty. And the seller ponied up and paid for it. Had they gotten a home inspection when they bought it, all of that stuff would have been corrected and they wouldn't have had to deal with that. So make sure, just for resale even alone, that you get that home inspection. All right, Sunshine, what you got for me here?
Well, solar. And January 1st, 2020, the state of California required all new home builds to have solar. Now, most of the builders had already put a plan in place back, in the middle or early 2019, but it gave them time to think about how they can make money on solar. So if the state of California is going to make the builder put the solar on there, let's go and partner with the solar company and make money on all of our clients. That's exactly what they did. So there's 3 different types of solar. When you walk into a builder, they're going to offer you 3 different options. First option is to simply purchase it. And we'll go in a minute about purchase and appraisals, because those go in hand. The second is leasing. And the third is power purchase. So the power purchase is just like receiving a bill every single month from Southern California Edison or your electric company for the usage that you use every month. So you'll get a bill, you pay it, just like Edison. They'll have a easement on top of the roof, and you don't own the panels, you don't touch the panels. If there's a problem with the panels, they're being taken care of by the, not so much Lennar or KB or the home builder, but their quote unquote partner in solar. A lease is a little bit different. A lease is that you kind of own them, but you kind of don't, right? Unless you have that big balloon payment, you make that balloon payment at the end. But you're getting a 10, 20, 30-year lease, and basically you have a set amount every single month. You pay it. The usage that you use is typically covered under that payment. If you do exceed it, you do owe extra money. And then most builders will tell you, oh yeah, well it's a fraction of what Southern California Edison is going to give it to you. The point that they even have to put any more money down on solar is kind of ridiculous, because what happens is when you turn around and you don't use as much on certain months, let's call it winter months, you're using more gas because it's going to be heating time, right? Versus summer, you use more electricity when you're using your air conditioning. They turn around and they sell that electricity back to Southern California Edison or the local electric company, and then they reap the benefits. Now, some good leases will allow you to get a credit back, but they also allow the solar company to get a credit as well. So you have to take that in consideration. Those are the three solar options that you have to make a decision every single time you walk in a new build. So when you're with your agent, you obviously number one, make sure that he understands all this and he's already sold new builds. Number two, that he gives you the best option to look at. The very first thing I talked about was purchase. They run anywhere from I've seen as little as $8,000. I've seen as high as closing in on $20,000. What they'll do is if you purchase it, they're going to tack that onto the top of the sales price that you've already bought in the house. And unfortunately, if other people in your tract or in that phase didn't purchase solar, then your property is going to go from is being sold for you at a higher price, and you have to have the appraisal come in. And if the house next door model match who's actually leasing it and you turn around and bought it, there's a good chance that your appraisal is going to come in short. And in that contract that we discussed, the very first one, that you have to bring in the short difference, right? So if it's $10,000 short, they need dollar per dollar out of pocket for you. And that's what they'll tell you in the contract up front 6 months earlier when you actually sign that contract. So be very careful. If you're purchasing it, make sure you have some type of fund that in case that it doesn't appraise, you'll bring in the difference. Now, you'll reap the benefit over the 30 years or 40 years or whatever, however long you live in your house, you'll reap the benefit. And if you resold a house that's already purchased solar, your house is just worth a little bit more and more attractive to buyers out there.
Yeah, that's a great point, Troy. I mean, that's one of the things we seem to cover a lot with our, buyers right now is, should I buy or lease solar? I have solar in my house. I love it. The nice thing is these solar, panels and stuff they're putting on, they're more efficient now. And because the houses themselves are so efficient, they can do it for less. And that's why a lot of these, the solar, prices, like you're saying, $8 to $20,000, it's less than a lot of existing homes. If you were to buy an existing resale home and then put solar on it, a lot of times you're going to need more electricity production. It's going to cost you a lot more. So that's one of the benefits. And there's pros and cons of buying too. So if you buy, right now you're getting a 30% federal tax credit back. So 30% of what you're putting out, you're going to get back at the end of the year as a federal tax credit. So we know a lot of buyers like that, and then they're financing that, let's call it $20,000, $18,000, whatever it is, $13,000, over 30 years, instead of some of these leases that are only 10 or 20 years. So the payments are lower, and because it's, in their mortgage, it could be a potential tax write-off too. So you really want an agent who understands, what's the best for you, how long you're going to be there, what can you afford, what are you qualified for, are you able to buy it, is it better to lease it? And then if you get stuck in a pickle, you want a strong agent representing you to go back to the lender, the seller, the builder, and pound on them and say, hey, this appraisal came in short. We need to drop the sales price to the appraised value. Troy and I have had we've unfortunately encountered that multiple times, and we've been able to negotiate for our buyers to get a reduced price. So you really want to make sure that you've got an agent out there fighting for you with that builder in case you get in one of those positions. So definitely keep that in mind.
I have a couple questions here, Ryan, before we jump into the upgrades.
Yeah.
One is from Josh. It says, what do you think about buying a historical house? That's a good question for you, Ryan.
Oh, I think it's horrible idea.
Ryan owns a historical home. That's why
I'm in the middle. Like, I'm almost done getting one of my houses here in Anaheim certified as a Mills Act. So I'll get the plaque. It's going to be called the Dickinson House. I tried to tell them I want it to be called the Lineker House, but no, it's got to be somebody historic who lived in it. I think they're fantastic. It's a pride of ownership type of thing. And a historical house, you're normally going to have more upkeep. They were older. They did things differently. And so, there's just the amount of workmanship that went into most of these older homes and historical homes was things you just don't see anymore. So you want to keep the character. You want to keep, everything there operating properly. And so it's hard to find tradesmen who really understand that and are going to, really spend that extra time and then also be affordable to do some of these repairs. So, if you're looking at doing that, I think it's awesome. I think you should definitely do it. It's more of a labor of love. And what you get is that byproduct of being able to look at this historic home and what you've done to it. I love it. And I know there's some historic homes out there that are turnkey. You could literally walk right in, you've just got the normal maintenance, like a fairly, average aged home. And there's some that are projects. So, it just depends how much free time you've got and, how much of a budget you've got to really bring that, older property back into, its former glory. I think it's a go. There's a lot of good resources out there. I know I use the Historical Society around us to even find tradesmen. So for mine, to have, I've got the original wood windows. For the screens, you can only use wood frame screens. Well, you can't go to Home Depot and you can't call the mobile screen blind guy to come out and give you wood framed, screened windows. So there's local tradespeople for that. And those are some of the things people don't really think about when they jump into a house like that. So if you guys are looking for a historic home or, just kind of stumbled across one, you really need to ask your agent, all right, is this in a historic preservation area? And if so, what are the constraints on that home? There are certain cities and certain zones where you can't just go and blow out and put in new dual pane windows because the old ones are blowing, hot air or cold air through it. So you really want to ask the right questions and know hey, is this something we want to, basically be a caretaker for, for future generations. So I love it. So sorry to run on long on that one, but I'd say go for it.
So Josh, tell us where you're looking at the historic homes. I know they're in different cities, but absolutely tell us where you're looking at. So it says, Ira Isaac, who pays for the inspection, Ryan?
Well, obviously, the buyer always pays for a home inspection. There's two things you're normally going to pay for in a resale home outside of escrow. It's a home inspection and it's the appraisal. So when you're working with us, we always pay on new home construction. We pay for our buyers inspection up to $500. Most of them are under $500. So we as agents pay for that on new home construction. But and that's something you should even ask your agent out there. Really, there's a little bit less that they're doing on the new home construction, throughout the transaction and disclosures and stuff. So we like to pass that savings on to our clients.
So the next question here is from another Josh. What is the maximum length of time in escrow?
It's great. When you read those builders' contracts, every builder again is different. We've seen stuff 9 months, I'd say 6 to 9 months is average right now. We've seen stuff go past a year. So it just depends how big, how far they are into their phase releases. We've seen some builders get snagged by the city with zoning and some other issues in the middle of it. So just, ask for them to find that paragraph in their contract that says what your remedies are if that project takes too long. Because as you know, rates fluctuate, and at some point in time, if they're stuck, you need to be able to get out and get your deposit back. So I know one of the clients we just met with about 3 weeks ago, I think it was 6 months. They gave a window, like a 3-month window, and then if it passed that by 6 months, then they could cancel and get their deposit back.
Fantastic. So let's jump into upgrades here, Ryan.
Yeah. So as you know, or you should know, when you walk into the model, and here's a quick picture, right? Everything you see there is not included with the house. So I know Lennar says, oh, it's there, everything included. They limit some of their upgrades and stuff like that. But the average builder out there in their models is showing all of the add-ons that you can purchase at their design center. And that's where things really start to get racked up, because people go, well, of course I want that flooring. Of course I want, those counters. I want all these extra lights in the home and outlets for the TV on the wall that's already got the HDMI cable run up the wall where we're going to mount our TV on the wall. And it just runs away from them. Nowadays you've got options that are structural as well as cosmetic. So, you can add on maybe a balcony off the master. You can add a patio. You can change your sliding glass doors from just a normal sliding glass door to, a 20-foot long accordion door that opens up and has that whole California, room or indoor outdoor feel. So there's certain things that if you really want in your house and they're structural, you should probably do those through the builder. There's other things that are cosmetic, flooring, some of the electrical lighting, hey, you can get it, half to a third cheaper after you close escrow. Now, it's not going to be financed into your mortgage over 30 years, so you're going to have to pay it. But if you're just trying to get into the house, that's where a good agent can help you work through those decisions. So one of the things that we see very common is, if it's a single story home, hey, if you're tight on your budget, don't worry about doing all the LED lighting and stuff like that. You can normally get an electrician to do it cheaper than the builder after the close of escrow. But if it's a 2-story house and you want those on the bottom floor, it's probably easier to go through the builder so that you don't have to have an electrician come in after you close escrow and cut holes everywhere to run wires up and around through all the rafters and the ceiling to get your can lights where you want them. So this is where an experienced agent really can, make or break it for you and help you weigh those decisions. Because there's a lot. I mean, this picture right here, Troy, what do you see as some of the upgrades that would be in this house here?
Well, the first thing that hits you right in the face is the flooring.
Yeah.
All flooring on the majority of builders is going to be carpet, except for the wet areas, and it's going to be linoleum, maybe tile.
Yeah, roll linoleum, maybe tile.
Yeah, those. So the wet areas is considered the kitchen, the bathrooms, and the washer and dryer, laundry room. And otherwise, every other inch of that property is going to be carpet. And I think that I've said that to many of my clients, and they're pretty stunned because when they look at this floor pops, right, with the countertops and the kitchen, and you just get carpet. And typically you'll get a choice at the very beginning of 3 different carpet, colors, and then boom, you're off to the races. So that's one of the big pitches that most builders have is like, oh, you want to upgrade off of carpet? Well, the majority of millennials don't want carpet. They'll again spend the $5,000 to $8,000 in the after or during at the builders costs.
Yep. Yeah, and then counters is a very common one. Backsplashes.
Yeah.
Upgrades to the cabinet hardware so it's soft close. Doors and drawers. And those are things you really want to sit there and get their price sheet on, see what they add up to, and see if it makes sense. For the most part, I'd say it's 50-50, whether people are going to, pay for the flooring through the builder and finance it over the 30 years and just be able to be move-in ready, or if they're going to take the generic stuff that's there, the builder grade, and then get 2 or 3 years out of it and then pay somebody less to do it later, maybe take out a Home Depot loan or something like that to get it done. So there's a lot of decisions to be weighed there in the So make sure you've got somebody that knows and has been through these new home builds to really help you out.
Yeah, this is, if you're out there and you have a real estate agent and you're definitely looking at new homes, your real estate agent should be paying for your home inspection, regardless, as we discussed earlier, the backlash that the salesperson gives you at the sales office about not doing one, still, it shouldn't come out of your pocket. Have your agent pay for it, whether, again, at closing time or the day or two after closing time, so you absolutely are covered. Again, it's about your home and about the value and about the hassle, even if it's warranted things. This is exactly what the sales office tells you. Oh, well, everything's warranted. Guess what? You don't want to have to deal with a crack in the, of a pipe in the wall, and it comes in your house, and then it starts damaging all your furnishings. You don't want to deal with that. It's going to cost you time, money, and everything else that goes with it. None of us want to deal with it. So take that in consideration. It's a simple little thing. It doesn't cost you. The home inspector's there for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. He goes in the attic. He sees the things that you didn't see with the builder on your final walkthrough, and he's going to touch and deal with things that you won't think about that are really important to that structure of that house.
Yep, absolutely. And then, Troy, what does it cost for a buyer to use a realtor or broker?
Your realtor costs you nothing. Make sure he costs you nothing, but make sure you have one, right? Pick the right one that's done a lot of new builds. Interview a few of them. They're very important. Again, it costs you nothing. You walk in on a burglary charge into court, you're going to have a lawyer. If you decided to represent yourself, you put yourself at a disadvantage every single time. That's exactly why the seller wants you to fill that card out to lock you in and block out every agent out there and get your information.
Yep. So just quick recap, some of the pros and cons of new construction versus a resale home. Pro number one right now, and this is huge in the current climate, is there's no bidding wars. So you get on that interest list, and when you're the top of that list and they're saying, hey, here's our new phase release, you're already approved and you can get the home that you want. And it doesn't matter if you're, Cal HFA, 100% financing, VA, FHA. It just doesn't matter. As long as you're approved, you're good to go. And you're not going to all of a sudden get beat out by somebody else who's an all cash buyer who walks in and wants to pay $5,000 more. It doesn't happen that way with new home builds. And that's why people are just lining up at these new home construction sites now. And then obviously you can customize a house and have it built your way and add it into the mortgage over 30 years. So you buy a resale, and unless you're doing a renovation loan, which again, it's hard to get the seller to accept the longer, 15-day, extended, escrow on top of the normal 30 to do a renovation loan right now. So, you can get the house renovated and have it all into the mortgage, which in a traditional resale, you're not going to be able to do. And then your potential price appreciation while the home's being built. So, one of the questions we get asked is, okay, so I put down the deposit and when do I start making payments? You got to remember, you don't make a payment on this new home, new construction home until you close escrow. So if it takes them 6 months to build it, 9 months to build it, you're not making a mortgage payment until it's done, your loan's funded, and the home is yours. So you're going to be paying a deposit, when you're signing the purchase contract. You're normally going to be giving, a third to 50% of whatever the amount of upgrades is as a check, to the design center or to the sales center once you pick out your upgrades. And then you don't make a mortgage payment until the home's done. So if you've got a home that's taken 9 months to be built, we've got buyers who, we put in escrow, December and January, and they're closing escrow now, and they've bumped 10% in equity, 15% in equity,
absolutely.
Which is, it's really amazing. We used to flip homes back in the early 2000s doing it that way. But that's a good, good pro. If somebody's in a home right now gaining equity on their existing home and they're looking to move up, they get double appreciation for the next 9 months. Mm-hmm. So we've got a lot of move up buyers that are looking new construction as well. And then you can potentially pick your lot and location. So, when you're looking at a new home, if you can get in early enough and get on that VIP list, you can wait. Sometimes you got to wait for, a few phases and watch price increase go up, but you can potentially pick that corner lot you've been looking for or into the cul-de-sac lot you've been looking for. Maybe it's a view lot. Maybe you want a huge backyard. I showed a client this weekend and they wanted a huge yard, and that's what they got. It was 27,000 square foot lot. With like 11,000 square feet of it was completely flat on top of it. So those are some big pros of doing new home construction. And then, potentially the HOA and new local community amenities. So, if you want something with, new pool, new schools, a lot of these developments are in huge master plan communities where it's going to be all new schooling. It's going to be all new pools and play areas and stuff like that. Now, again, some of these are on the cons list as well, but, if that's what you're looking for, that's one of the big, amenities out there that people are looking for and they can get in a new home. And then energy efficiency. So you're going to have these homes that have better insulation, lower, with the LEDs and stuff, they're just taking less electricity to heat, to cool, to light. So you're going to have these energy efficient homes that are going to cost you less over, the lifetime of that house versus a resale home, and lower maintenance because again, it's new. You've got your fit and finish warranty, and everything's new. So you should be covered and not have to do normal maintenance for quite some time. And then cons, right? So part of the con is the interest list. You got to get on that interest list. You got to get approved by their lender normally to get on that list. And so sometimes while you're waiting, people can get jumped ahead of you on that. But you got to get on that interest list. And then again, Troy mentioned my pro was the lot. And what'd you say about the con for the lots, Troy?
Well, the lot's nice, but they'll make you pay for it, right? So typically, most builders, and I know if I went to Richmond, America, every single lot, it didn't matter what property it was, the price of the house was the house, but you had to pay for a lot premium on every single one. Actually, it was an elevation charge.
There's that too.
Elevation charge.
Well, so elevation is the way the outside of the home looks, right? So if you get the French Tuscan, that's one price. If you get, the Craftsman, it's another price. And then if you get, the French Colonial, it's a third price. So that's the elevation. Then you've also got the lots on top of it. So you've got lot premiums and those elevation premiums. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about tax rate then too.
I mean, as we talked about,
I'm gonna let you be bad cop over here. You tell me all the cons.
So as we talked about before, you're looking at somewhere as between doubling, your tax rate on a resale home versus on a new home. And again, the amenities that you're going to get, obviously new schools that Ryan had talked about, new streets, police departments, parks. Fire departments, all of that is all going to be new, brand new, shiny. It's going to all look beautiful, and again, if you have a new school, who's obviously feeding that school? Everybody from that community. So you're not having any renters, getting their children into the schools. You're having all those people that your neighbors are the ones that are in those schools. Potentially an HOA payment. Again, the pros and cons of HOA. I'm a big proponent of a small HOA that will keep everybody's home looking nice and keep values in the area going up. And that's very important, especially to a builder. It's important while they're building, but but the second they leave, you want to know that your neighbor again is not going to have a project in their front yard or paint their property orange or let their grass die. I mean, those are things that that really hurt value in a neighborhood when you see those things when you're going through. Next is solar is mandatory with limited options. And again, the pro is solar. The con is how the solar is being sold to you or leased to you or power purchased. Yeah. So definitely get with your real estate agent and have him go over that after you talk to the salesperson and the community, because every community is different about solar.
Yep. And that's, on the solar too, is most of them, they'll only give you one option now for solar. They say, we right-sized it for the home because they look at the, rough estimated energy consumption for a home that size in that area, but maybe they're only planning on covering 80% of that home's usage. And that's your only option. Well, what if you've got two cars, that you want to charge overnight and you really wanted to have a souped up, larger solar system? It's not going to be through the builder. So then you've got issues of, how do we add that on? Can it be added on? And so those are, again, things that you need to have your agent ask and be able to negotiate through with you. So, and then established neighborhood. What I was meaning by this one is, some of the cons is you really don't know the neighborhood. You don't know your neighbors. It's a new community. I know, back in 2007, 8, some people were buying into these new communities and then they sat half unfinished for a while. Some of the neighborhood, amenities that they had promised didn't get built for 10 years. Whereas with a resale home, you pretty much know what's going on with that neighborhood. You can look up the crime rate, you can look up the school scores, you can look up all that stuff. So that's one of the cons could be going into this new community. You don't really know how it's going to develop and really be. In some of these we're talking about are more the larger master plan communities where, you've got hundreds and hundreds of going into it. And then you have to wait for the home to be built. So some people want to take advantage of the interest rate right now at these all-time lows, but you're going to have to wait and see where that interest rate is. And same thing, some people want that house right now. They got to be out of their lease, their parents' house, whatever it might be. But you got to wait, So there are some immediate move-ins. My recommendation would be to get on the interest list as soon as possible for as many builders as you're interested in, because sometimes they do have fallouts and they'll call through that interest list. So I know I'll go in and I'll ping some of our sales reps every once in a while. Hey, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have fallouts? You have anything on the radar that might be falling out? Let me know. I've got a client that wants to move in on something right now. And so get on that interest list, have your agent check in with that sales rep, because that can pay off for you big time. And yeah, if you guys want to search only new homes, this is an MLS link for new homes. You can go ahead. It's in the description of our live session today. There's a link. It'll take you here. You can go in and do a search for the cities you're looking, the price points you're looking, set up alerts, save the ones you like. And if you got any questions on it, feel free to DM us and we can walk you through it. But we just wanted to let you know that there's a nice resource out there for that. And again, Troy, I want to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, actually, we go live every Tuesday, 9:00. Check us out. We have a different topic every single Tuesday, as well as we have the news and what's happening and the financing, as well as the real estate sales. And then on Thursday, we have our exact show pretty much with the lovely Roxy. She goes on in Spanish on Thursdays at 8 p.m. And then again, deal of the week, the best deals in Southern California that we see on the MLS, we give to you at 2:00 Friday. And then right after, we do a show about the weekly market update. What you want to know about the housing industry, what's happening in Orange County, your neighborhoods, we give that information up to date. If you give us your address on that live, we'll actually give you what we feel that the property value is worth. We're there for you on Fridays, right at 2:30.
Absolutely. Thanks for wrapping it up. Do a couple more shout outs. Erica Puga, what's up? Tron Man, that's a grade school buddy right there. Wilmer Giovanni Galvez Ortega is watching. What's up, buddy? Luz Ramos, Garcia Jeanette, Delania Rodriguez. Thank you guys all for watching us. Please share and subscribe. Got any more shout outs over there, Troy?
Yeah, Josh Clapp said that he's looking at a house in Fontana, 1920s Spanish style house with old wood windows and he has, I believe, plaster walls.
That's awesome.
Lath and plaster walls, man.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
pull
it.
that off. That is not very fun to play with, lath and plaster. Another Josh said, I'm trying to purchase a model home in Arupa Valley community. The final price hasn't been released, but the salesperson said to add $30,000 to the regular price and the option to purchase the furniture. That's the Frontier Homes. So you gotta, so there's probably 3 or 4 of the model homes that are there. One is actually where the sales office is in, right in the garage of one of them. Typically, they're not $30,000 more unless they have multiple people wanting that house. So of all the houses that have potential bidders on it, it is the model homes, to be honest with you. Some builders will just sell them, to the first buyer. Other ones will sit there and take an interest list and then bid it up because they've actually done the upgrades in the house prior because they want to make those homes look the best, right?
Yeah, some of the ones I was showing in Fontana, actually, they had an $80,000 bump for their models because they were so highly upgraded. They had all kinds of built-ins and custom work. So, you look at somebody looking for a $500,000 home, and then all of a sudden they're getting a model for $600,000, and it's just a big, big jump. Because that right there is one of the bad purchase ideas, because you now are the you're the most upgraded home in that community. And when it's time to resell, you are not going to recoup all of that money until enough people around you have done, equal upgrades, which never really happens on the models. So just keep that in mind. It's not normally the best economic decision to buy a model. You're normally better off buying a normal home and adding the key things that the model has that you want. The structural through the builder, and then maybe some of the real tricked out stuff through other professionals, down the road. So, but I know we've had clients that they want that model. Give it to me, right? They got sold.
So I have Erla on here, says thank you, appreciate it. Erla, it was nice talking to you today as well. So
Absolutely.
We'll see if we'll check out some new builds this weekend. And then Abraham Medina, thanks for the heads up. Getting my new build late November. Congratulations.
That's awesome. Congrats, Abraham.
Abraham, it's you're 45 days out or so. So
make sure you get that inspection.
Yeah, get that inspection, man. Get your real estate agent to give you that. Get that inspection. We can't,
stress that enough. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday here, 9 p.m. We'll go over another topic. Until then, we will see you. Everyone be safe out there. Take care.
Take care. Peace. God bless.